The morning started like any other day at the Space Research Station on Mars. Dr. Lisa walked through the quiet halls, her coffee mug steaming in the recycled air. She had been working at this remote outpost for 3 years now, studying alien life forms and mysterious signals from deep space. Most days were routine, checking equipment, analyzing data, and writing reports that few people would ever read. But today was different. The moment she sat down at her computer, alarms started blaring throughout the facility. Red lights flashed across every screen, and her colleague Jake burst into the lab, his face pale with excitement. "Lisa, you need to see this right now," he said, pointing at the main display screen. "Something just landed outside our station." On the monitor, Lisa could see the figures standing beside what looked like a small, glowing ship. The craft was unlike anything she had ever seen. It seemed to be made of crystal and light, constantly shifting and changing colors like a living rainbow. But what caught her attention were the two beings standing next to it. They were tall, much taller than humans, with skin that sparkled like starlight. They looked exactly the same, perfect twins, and they stood completely still, as if they were waiting for something. Their appearance was both beautiful and strange, making Lisa's heart race with a mixture of fear and wonder. "How long have they been there?" she asked, unable to take her eyes off the screen. "Just appeared 5 minutes ago," Jake replied. "No warning, no signal, nothing." One moment the area was empty, and the next moment they were just there. Lisa grabbed her protective suit and headed toward the exit. As the head scientist at the station, it was her job to make first contact with any alien visitors. Her hand shook slightly as she put on her helmet, but she tried to stay calm. This was what she had trained for her entire career. The walk across the rocky Martian surface felt like it took forever. Each step brought her closer to the two mysterious figures, and she could feel their eyes watching her approach. When she got within 20 feet of them, they both moved at exactly the same time, turning to face her with perfect coordination. "Greetings, Earth human," they said together, their voices somehow reaching her through the thin Martian air. Their words were clear and perfectly synchronized, as if they shared the same mouth and mind. Lisa stopped walking, her breath caught in her throat. She had imagined this moment countless times, but nothing had prepared her for the reality of standing face to face with beings from another world. "Hello," she managed to say, her voice cracking slightly. "I'm Dr. Lisa Chen from the Mars Research Station. Welcome to our planet." The two aliens looked at each other, then back at her. One of them stepped forward, though Lisa couldn't tell any difference between them, and spoke again. "I am Zara," said the one on the left, "and I am Kara," said the one on the right. "We are twins from a star system very far from here," they continued, again speaking in perfect unison. "We have traveled across many galaxies to find you." "To find me?" Lisa asked, confused. "But you don't even know who I am." The twins exchanged another look, and something passed between them, some kind of silent communication that Lisa couldn't understand. "We have been watching your people for some time," Zara explained. "Studying your minds, learning how you think and work. You humans have something very special," Kara added, "something that our people lost long ago." Lisa felt a chill run down her spine. "What do you mean?" "You can think about two different things at the same time," they said together. "You can use both hands to do different tasks, while your mind stays focused on both. This ability is very rare in the universe." As they spoke, Lisa noticed how their movements were perfectly matched. When one breathed in, the other breathed out. When one shifted their weight, the other did the exact opposite. It was as if they were two parts of the same person. "We need your help," the twins continued. "Our home world is in great danger, and only someone with your special abilities can save it." Lisa looked back toward the research station, where she could see Jake and the other scientists watching through the windows. Part of her wanted to run back to safety, to call for help from Earth, to follow all the protocols she had learned for alien contact. But another part of her, the part that had always dreamed of making the greatest discovery in human history, urged her to stay and listen. "What kind of danger?" she asked. The twins raised their hands, and suddenly the air around them filled with images, holographic pictures that showed a beautiful world of crystal cities and flowing rivers. But then the images changed, showing the same world cracking apart, with massive earthquakes and volcanic eruptions destroying everything in sight. "Our planet is dying," Zara said, sadness clear in her voice, "and we are the only ones who can save it," Kara added. "But we need help from someone who can work with both of us at the same time." Lisa stared at the floating images, watching an entire civilization face destruction. The beauty of their world took her breath away, but the images of its destruction filled her with horror. "Why me?" she asked. "Surely there are others who could help you better than I can." "We have searched for many years," the twins replied. "Together, you are the only one whose mind works in the way we need. Your thoughts can split into directions while staying connected. This is exactly what we require." The holographic images faded away, leaving just the three of them standing on the empty Martian landscape. Lisa felt the weight of their request settling on her shoulders like a heavy blanket. "If I help you," she said slowly, "what would I need to do?" The twins smiled, the first emotion Lisa had seen them show clearly. "Come with us to our ship," Zara said. "Let us show you what we mean," Kara finished. Lisa looked one more time at the research station behind her, then made a decision that would change her life forever. She nodded and followed the alien twins toward their glowing crystal ship, taking the first step into an adventure beyond anything she had ever imagined. Walking toward the crystal ship felt like stepping into a dream. Lisa's boots crunched on the red Martian soil as she followed the twins, her heart beating so fast she could hear it in her helmet. The ship grew larger with each step, and she realized it was much bigger than it had looked from a distance when they reached the entrance. The ship's surface simply melted away, creating an opening large enough for all three of them to walk through. Lisa hesitated for a moment, wondering if she was making a terrible mistake. But Zara and Kara turned to look at her with such hopeful expressions that she couldn't turn back now. "Don't worry," Zara said gently. "You are completely safe with us. We would never hurt someone we need so desperately," Kara added with a small smile. Lisa took a deep breath and stepped inside. The moment she crossed the threshold, she gasped in amazement. The interior of the ship was unlike anything she had ever seen. The walls seemed to be made of living light, constantly shifting between different colors and patterns. The floor felt solid under her feet, but when she looked down, she could see stars and galaxies swirling beneath the transparent surface. "This is incredible," she whispered, turning in a slow circle to take it all in. The twins watched her reaction with obvious pleasure. They seemed to enjoy seeing her wonder and amazement. "Our technology is very different from yours," Zara explained. "We build with thought and energy rather than metal and plastic. Everything responds to our minds." Kara continued, "Watch this." She raised her hand, and suddenly a chair appeared out of thin air, perfectly shaped for Lisa to sit in. Lisa reached out to touch it, expecting her hand to pass right through. But the chair was completely solid and comfortable. "How is this possible?" Lisa asked, sinking into the chair. "That is a long story," the twins said together. "But first, we must tell you about our problem." The walls around them suddenly came alive with images. Lisa found herself surrounded by scenes of the most beautiful world she had ever imagined. Crystal towers reached toward purple skies, and rivers of pure silver flowed through cities filled with beings that looked like Zara and Kara. "This is our home," Zara said, her voice filled with love and sadness, "the planet Lumina in the Andromeda system. For thousands of years, it has been paradise," Kara added. "But now, everything is falling apart." The images changed, showing the same beautiful world in chaos. The crystal towers were cracking and falling, the silver rivers were turning black, and the purple sky was filled with smoke and fire. "What happened?" Lisa asked, feeling her heart break as she watched the destruction. "Our planet's core is becoming unstable," Zara explained. "The energy that powers our entire world is spinning out of control. If we cannot fix it soon, everything will be destroyed," Kara said. "Not just our cities, but every living thing on our planet." Lisa leaned forward in her chair, But surely your people have the technology to fix something like this. Your ship. These projections, you're obviously much more advanced than we are. The twins looked at each other, and Lisa saw something she hadn't noticed before. Despite being identical, there was a sadness in their eyes that seemed deeper than just worry about their planet. That is the problem, they said together. We are not like the rest of our people. What do you mean? Lisa asked. Zara stood up and began pacing around the small room. Our species evolved differently than yours did. Over many thousands of years, we became more and more connected to each other. Eventually, we all began to share the same thoughts, the same dreams, the same ideas, Kara continued. It made us very peaceful, but it also made us weak. Lisa was beginning to understand. You lost the ability to think independently. Exactly, the twins said together. And Zara and I are the most connected of all. We share not just thoughts, but everything. We are two bodies with one mind. Usually, this is not a problem, Zara said. We can work together perfectly, like two hands on the same body. But now, we need to save our planet, Kara continued. And the only way to do that is to operate two different machines at the same time. The walls around them changed again, showing what looked like a massive underground chamber. In the center were two enormous devices, both glowing with the same energy as the ship's walls. They were connected by streams of light, but they were on opposite sides of the chamber. These are the core stabilizers, Zara explained. They were built by our ancestors long ago, in case something like this ever happened. But they require constant adjustment, Kara said. Someone must operate both machines at exactly the same time, making different changes to each one. The problem is that we think as one person, they said together. When one of us tries to operate one machine, the other automatically tries to do exactly the same thing with the other machine. Lisa stared at the images of the two massive devices. And that doesn't work. No, Zara said. The machines need different adjustments at different times. It's like trying to play the different songs onto different pianos at the same time. We need someone who can truly multitask, Kara added. Someone whose mind can split into two separate streams of thought while still staying connected. That's where you come in, they said together, turning to look directly at Lisa. Lisa felt a chill run down her spine. Me? But I'm just a scientist. I study alien life forms. I don't know anything about your technology. You don't need to understand the technology. Zara said gently. We will provide all the knowledge you need. But you have something we don't have, Kara continued. A mind that can focus onto completely different tasks at the same time. We have been studying human brains for years, they explained together. Most humans can only truly concentrate on one thing at a time. But you are different, Lisa remembered all the times in her lab when she had been running multiple experiments, checking data on one computer while taking notes on another, her hands moving independently while her mind kept track of both tasks perfectly. We have watched you work, Zara said. You can write with one hand while typing with the other. You can listen to two different conversations and remember both of them perfectly. This ability is exactly what we need. Kara finished. With your help, we can save our entire world. The images on the walls faded away, leaving them in the soft, glowing light of the ship's interior. Lisa sat in silence for a long moment, trying to process everything she had just learned. If I agreed to help you, she said slowly, what exactly would I have to do? The twins looked at each other, and Lisa saw something new in their expressions. For the first time since she had met them, they looked uncertain. You would need to let us connect our minds to yours, Zara said quietly. It would be temporary. Kara added quickly, just long enough to operate the machines. But it would mean sharing thoughts with both of us at the same time, they said together, feeling what we feel, knowing what we know. Lisa felt her mouth go dry. The idea of having her mind connected to alien beings was both terrifying and fascinating. Has anyone ever done this before? She asked. The twins shook their heads. You would be the first, they admitted. We don't know exactly what it will feel like for you, but we do know that without your help, our entire civilization will end, Zara said. Billions of lives depend on what you decide, Kara finished. Lisa closed her eyes and tried to imagine the weight of that responsibility. An entire world, an entire species, depending on her decision. When she opened her eyes again, she found both twins watching her with desperate hope. "How long do we have?" she asked. 3 days, they replied together. "Maybe 4 if we're lucky." "And you're sure this is the only way?" "We have tried everything else," they said. "You are our last hope." Lisa stood up from the chair and walked to what she thought was a window. Outside, she could see the familiar red landscape of Mars and the small research station where her colleagues were probably still watching and waiting. She thought about her quiet life as a scientist, her routine days of research and discovery. If she agreed to help, she would be leaving all of that behind for something completely unknown and potentially dangerous. But she also thought about the beautiful world she had seen in the projections and all the people there who were counting on someone, anyone, to save them. Finally, she turned back to face the twins. "If I do this," she said, "I want to know everything. No surprises, no secrets. I need to understand exactly what we're going to do." The twins smiled for the second time since she had met them. "Of course," they said together. "We will tell you everything." The training began immediately. Lisa barely had time to send a message back to the research station, telling Jake and the others that she was safe and working on something important. She couldn't explain the whole truth. Who would believe her? Anyway, inside the crystal ship, the twins created what they called a practice chamber. The room was completely empty at first, just smooth walls that glowed with soft light. Then Kara raised both hands, and suddenly the complex control panels appeared in front of Lisa, one on her left and one on her right. "These are simplified versions of the real machines," Zara explained, "but they will help you learn how to split your attention." Lisa looked at both panels. They were covered with buttons, switches, and displays that showed numbers and symbols she didn't recognize. Just looking at them made her head spin. "This looks impossible," she said, feeling overwhelmed. "How am I supposed to learn all of this in just a few days?" "Don't worry about understanding what everything does," Kara said gently. "We will guide your hands and tell you what to press. You just need to learn how to listen to both of us at the same time. Think of it like learning to play piano," Zara added. "Your left hand plays one melody while your right hand plays another, but somehow your brain coordinates both." Lisa had never played piano, but she understood what they meant. Taking a deep breath, she placed her left hand on one panel and her right hand on the other. "Good," the twins said together. "Now, just relax and let us show you." What happened next was unlike anything Lisa had ever experienced. She felt a gentle tingling in both hands, and suddenly she could sense the twins' presence in her mind. It wasn't scary like she had expected. Instead, it felt like having the helpful voices whispering instructions directly into her thoughts. "Press the blue button with your left hand," she heard Zara's voice say inside her head. At the same time, Kara's voice said, "Turn the silver dial with your right hand." Lisa's hands moved almost automatically, following the instructions. The panels lit up with different colors, and she heard a soft humming sound. "Perfect," the twins said out loud. "You're already learning." For the next several hours, they practiced the same basic exercises. Lisa would receive different instructions for each hand, sometimes at the same time, sometimes one after the other. At first, her movements were clumsy and uncertain. She would start to turn a dial with her right hand, then get distracted by instructions for her left hand and forget what she was doing. But gradually, something amazing began to happen. Her mind started to adapt. She found that she could hold to separate sets of instructions in her head simultaneously, like having two different conversations going on into different rooms of her brain. "This is incredible," she said during a break, flexing her fingers and looking at her hands with wonder. "I can actually feel my brain working differently. Humans are more adaptable than you realize," Zara said with admiration. "Your species' ability to learn and change is remarkable. Our people lost this flexibility long ago," Kara added. "We became too comfortable with thinking the same way about everything." As the training continued, Lisa began to understand more about the twins and their world. During the mental connection, she could sense fragments of their memories and emotions. She saw glimpses of their childhood on Lumina, playing in crystal gardens under purple skies. She felt their deep love for their planet and their people, but she also sensed their loneliness because they shared the same mind. They had never experienced the simple pleasure of having a private thought or a personal secret. They had never disagreed about anything, never had different opinions, never been surprised by what the other was thinking. It must be strange for you, Lisa said quietly during another break. Being connected to me like this, my thoughts are probably very different from yours. The twins looked at each other with an expression Lisa had never seen before. There was something almost curious in their eyes. It is strange, Zara admitted, but also wonderful. Through you, we are experiencing what it feels like to have individual thoughts for the first time, Kara said softly. When you think about your home on Earth, we can feel the memory, but it is your memory, not ours. They said together, it is like seeing a new color we never knew existed. This gave Lisa an idea. During the next training session, instead of just following their instructions mechanically, she began to think actively about what she was doing. She started to anticipate what might come next. To make small decisions about how to move her hands more efficiently, the results were immediate and dramatic. The practice panels responded much more smoothly, and the twins gasped with surprise and delight. What are you doing? Zara asked. This feels completely different. I'm not just following your instructions anymore, Lisa explained. I'm thinking, along with you, adding my own thoughts to the process. This is incredible, Kara said, her voice filled with excitement. We can feel you making independent choices, but somehow it's making everything work better. Not worse. Maybe that's what you've been missing, Lisa suggested. Not just someone who can multitask, but someone who can add different perspectives to the same problem. The training sessions became more intense after that discovery. Lisa learned to not just operate both control panels simultaneously, but to actively contribute her own ideas and suggestions. Sometimes she would notice patterns that the twins had missed, or find more efficient ways to complete certain tasks. But the training was also exhausting. By the end of each session, Lisa's head would be pounding from the effort of maintaining two separate streams of consciousness. Her hands would shake from the precise movements required, and she would feel drained both physically and mentally. During rest periods, the twins would show her more images of their dying world. Each day, the destruction was getting worse. Cities that had stood for thousands of years were crumbling into dust, rivers were drying up, and the beautiful crystal formations that powered their civilization were going dark one by one. How many people live on your planet? Lisa asked one day, watching scenes of evacuation ships leaving the surface. Nearly 10 billion, Zara replied sadly. And most of them don't even know how bad things really are, Kara added. Our leaders have been trying not to cause panic. But if we can't fix the core stabilizers, they said together, unable to finish the sentence, Lisa felt the weight of responsibilities settling on her shoulders like a heavy blanket. 10 billion lives, an entire civilization that had existed for thousands of years, all depending on her ability to learn skills that should have taken years to master. In just a few days, on the second day of training, something unexpected happened. During a particularly complex exercise, Lisa suddenly found herself seeing through the twins' eyes as well as her own. For just a moment, she experienced what it was like to be them, to share every thought, every emotion, every memory with another being. The sensation was overwhelming. She felt their fear for their dying world, their desperate hope that she could save it, and their deep gratitude that she was willing to try. But she also felt something else, their growing affection for her, and their amazement at experiencing individual thought through her mind. Did you feel that? She asked when the connection faded. Yes, the twins said together, their voices filled with wonder. For a moment, we were truly one mind and three bodies. But you were still you, Zara added. We could sense your individual thoughts and feelings even while sharing them. This is what the connection will be like during the real operation, Kara explained. But much stronger, and for much longer. Lisa felt a flutter of nervousness. How much longer? The core stabilization process takes approximately 6 hours, they replied together. 6 hours of having her mind connected to two alien beings while operating machinery that could save or destroy an entire planet. Lisa tried to imagine what that would feel like, but her mind couldn't quite grasp it. On the third day of training, they practiced with more realistic simulations. The twins created holographic versions of the actual core stabilizers, complete with all the sounds, lights, and energy fluctuations of the real machines. Lisa stood between the two towering devices, her hands resting on controls that seemed to pulse with life. The connection with the twins was stronger now, and she could feel their knowledge flowing into her mind like water filling a cup. Remember, Zara said, the left stabilizer controls the planet's magnetic field, and the right stabilizer manages the core temperature. Kara added, both must work together perfectly, but they require completely different adjustments, they said together. Lisa nodded and began the simulation. Her left hand danced over the magnetic field controls, making tiny adjustments based on Zara's calculations. At the same time, her right hand worked the temperature controls, following Kara's instructions to keep the core from overheating or cooling too quickly. For the first time since training began, everything clicked perfectly. Lisa felt like she was conducting a symphony orchestra, with each hand playing a different instrument, but both contributing to the same beautiful song. Excellent, the twins exclaimed together. That was perfect. But as the simulation ended, Lisa noticed something troubling. The connection with the twins felt different now, stronger, but also more permanent. Even when they weren't actively sharing thoughts, Lisa had made her decision, standing in the crystal ship's observation deck, watching the stars wheel overhead. She felt a strange sense of peace. Yes, the mental connection might be permanent. Yes, she might never be the same person again. But 10 billion lives hung in the balance, and she couldn't live with herself if she walked away now. I'll do it, she told the twins when they found her there. But I have one condition. Anything. Zara and Kara said together, relief flooding their voices. If something goes wrong, if I'm not strong enough or if the connection fails, you have to promise me you'll find another way. Don't let your world die because of my mistakes. The twins looked at each other with an expression Lisa had learned to recognize. They were having one of their silent conversations. Finally, they turned back to her. We promise, they said, but we believe in you. You are stronger than you know. Just then, the ship's walls began flashing with urgent red light. Kara pressed her hand against the nearest surface, and suddenly, they were surrounded by images of space, but not the peaceful starfield Lisa had been watching moments before. In the distance, she could see a planet that looked like a dying ember. What should have been a beautiful blue and purple world was now a sick orange color, with massive cracks of fire spreading across its surface like infected wounds. Lumina. Zara whispered, her voice breaking. It's worse than we thought. The core destabilization is accelerating, Kara added. We have maybe 6 hours before total collapse. Lisa felt her stomach drop. I thought we had more time. So did we, the twins said together. But the planet is failing faster than our scientists predicted. We have to go now. Zara said urgently, right now. The ship lurched into motion. Before Lisa could even respond, through the transparent walls, she watched Mars shrink away behind them as they shot into space, faster than anything humans had ever built. The sensation was incredible. Instead of feeling pressed back into her seat, she felt like she was floating on a cushion of energy. How long will it take to get there? She asked. For hours, Kara replied. Our ship can fold space, but even that takes time across such distances. Lisa spent those 4 hours in a strange state between meditation and panic. The twins helped her practice the connection one last time. But now it felt different, more urgent, more real. She could sense their growing anxiety as their home planet came closer, and their desperate hope that she would be able to save it. During the journey, she also learned more about what they would face when they arrived. The core stabilizers were buried deep underground in a chamber that was currently being shaken by constant earthquakes. The very air around the machines would be crackling with dangerous energy. Will I be able to breathe down there? Lisa asked. The chamber has its own atmosphere, Zara explained, but the energy levels will be unlike anything you've experienced. You might feel dizzy, or see strange lights, or hear sounds that aren't really there, Kara added. The important thing is to stay focused on our voices in your mind. When Lumina finally came into view, Lisa gasped, even dying. It was the most beautiful planet she had ever seen. The crystal cities still sparkled like jewels against the darkening landscape, and she could see millions of lights moving across the surface, ships evacuating people to safer areas. But the planet was clearly in its death throes. Massive storms raged across entire continents, and the cracks in the surface glowed with an angry red light that pulsed like a heartbeat. My people, the twins said together, staring at their world with expressions of anguish. So many are still down there. The ship landed in what looked like a crater, but Lisa realized it was actually the entrance to the underground facility. Emergency crews were working frantically around the area, but they all stopped and stared when they saw the twins emerging with a strange alien. Lisa still felt weird thinking of herself that way. Several of the Luminans approached them, speaking rapidly in their musical language. Lisa couldn't understand the words, but she could feel the twins' emotions through their growing connection. These people were terrified, desperate, and looking to Zara and Kara as their last hope. They're asking if we found someone who can help, Zara translated. They want to know if you're really capable of operating both stabilizers, Kara added. Lisa looked around at all the frightened faces, at people who looked just like the twins, but with their own individual expressions and personalities. Some were crying, others were holding hands, drawing strength from each other. All of them were looking at her with a mixture of hope and doubt. Tell them I'm going to try my best, she said firmly. The entrance to the underground chamber was like stepping into the heart of a volcano. The walls were smooth crystal, but they glowed with heat and pulsed with energy that made Lisa's teeth ache. The elevator ride down seemed to take forever, and with each level they descended, the shaking got worse. This is it, the twins said when the elevator finally stopped. The doors opened, and Lisa found herself facing the most incredible sight of her life. The chamber was enormous, bigger than a football stadium, and in the center stood two machines that defied description. They were part technology, part art, part living organism. Each one was the size of a building, covered in flowing patterns of light that shifted and changed like aurora in the night sky. But something was clearly wrong. The patterns were chaotic, flashing angry colors, and the sound they made was like a symphony played by a broken orchestra. The stabilizers are fighting each other instead of working together, Zara explained as they walked toward the machines. If we don't synchronize them soon, they'll tear the planet apart from the inside, Kara added. Lisa approached the control stations, one positioned in front of each machine. They were even more complex than the practice version she had trained on, covered with hundreds of controls that seemed to shift and rearrange themselves as she watched. Are you ready? The twins asked together. Lisa took a deep breath and placed her hands on both control panels immediately. She felt the connection with Zara and Kara snap into place, stronger than it had ever been before. But this time, it wasn't just their thoughts she was sensing. Through the connection, she could feel the entire planet. She could sense the fear of every person on the surface, the pain of the dying world, and the desperate energy of the core trying to tear itself apart. It was overwhelming, like trying to drink from a fire hose. Stay with us, Zara's voice said in her mind. Focus on our voices. Let us guide you, Kara added. Trust us. Lisa closed her eyes and let their knowledge flow into her. Suddenly, she understood what each control did, how the machines worked, and what needed to be done to save the planet. Her left hand began moving over the magnetic field controls, making tiny adjustments that helped stabilize the planet's protective barrier. At the same time, her right hand worked on the core temperature, carefully balancing the energy output to prevent the planet from burning up or freezing solid. It was like trying to perform surgery with both hands. While riding a roller coaster during an earthquake, for the first hour, everything went smoothly. The machines began to synchronize, their chaotic patterns gradually becoming more organized. The shaking in the chamber lessened, and Lisa began to hope that they might actually succeed. But then something went wrong. "The core is fighting back," Zara said urgently. "It's rejecting our adjustments. The magnetic field is fluctuating wildly." Kara added, "I don't understand what's happening." Through the connection, Lisa could feel the planet's core like a living thing in pain, thrashing around and refusing to be controlled. The stabilizers were working perfectly, but the core itself seemed to have developed a will of its own. "It's like the planet doesn't want to be saved," she said, struggling to maintain control as the machines bucked and fought against her adjustments. "That's impossible," the twins said together. "Planets don't have consciousness." But Lisa was beginning to suspect otherwise. Through her connection with the machines, she could sense something deeper, an awareness, an intelligence that was ancient beyond imagining. "What if it does?" she asked. "What if your planet is alive, and it's trying to die for a reason?" The twins fell silent, and Lisa could feel their shock and confusion through the mental link. "But why would it want to die?" Zara finally asked. "Maybe it doesn't want to die," Lisa said, her hands still working frantically to keep the machines stable. "Maybe it wants to be reborn." As soon as she said it, Lisa knew she was right. The planet wasn't trying to destroy itself. It was trying to transform into something new. The question was, could they help it transform safely instead of just trying to keep it the same? "I have an idea," she said, "but you're going to have to trust me completely." "What do you want to do?" Kara asked. "Instead of fighting the core's changes, what if we guide them? What if we help the planet become what it wants to become?" It was the biggest risk imaginable. If Lisa was wrong, they would destroy their world even faster. But if she was right, they might save not just the planet, but transform it into something even more wonderful than it had been before. "Do it," the twins said together without hesitation. "We trust you." Lisa took a deep breath and prepared to make the most important adjustments of her life. Lisa closed her eyes and reached deeper into the connection than she had ever gone before. Instead of just linking with Zara and Kara, she stretched her consciousness toward the planet itself, trying to understand what it truly wanted. What she found there took her breath away. The planet wasn't just alive, it was incredibly old and wise. With memories stretching back millions of years, it had nurtured countless civilizations, watched species evolve and grow, and had been patiently waiting for the right moment to take the next step in its own evolution. "The planet is trying to become something new," Lisa said, her voice filled with wonder. "It wants to spread seeds of itself to other worlds to help life grow throughout the galaxy." Through the mental link, she could feel the twins' amazement as they sensed what she was experiencing. "But the transformation process is too violent," Zara said. "It will destroy everything on the surface." "Not if we help guide it," Lisa replied. "We can show it how to change gradually, safely." Her hands began moving over the controls in a completely different pattern than anything they had practiced. Instead of fighting the core's energy, she started working with it, redirecting the chaotic forces into more organized channels with her left hand. She adjusted the magnetic field to create a protective cocoon around the planet's surface. With her right hand, she modified the core temperature to allow for controlled transformation instead of explosive destruction. But the most important work was happening in her mind. Through the connection with the twins, she was communicating directly with the planet's consciousness, showing it new possibilities it had never considered. "What if you didn't have to choose between staying the same and destroying everything?" she asked the ancient intelligence. "What if you could transform while protecting the life you've spent so long nurturing?" The response was like listening to music made of pure emotion. The planet's consciousness was filled with joy and gratitude at the possibility of change. Without destruction working together, Lisa and the planetary intelligence began to redesign the entire transformation process. Instead of one massive, violent change, they planned thousands of small adjustments spread out over several years. The planet would slowly develop the ability to send seeds of life to other worlds, while keeping its current inhabitants safe. It's working, Kara said, her voice filled with excitement. The core energy is stabilizing, and the surface tremors are stopping, Zara added. Lisa could feel it too. The chaotic energy that had been tearing the planet apart was transforming into something organized and purposeful. The angry red cracks on the surface were sealing themselves, and the core's violent pulsing was becoming a steady, healthy rhythm. But the most amazing change was happening in the mental connection itself. As Lisa worked with the planet's consciousness, she found that her link with the twins was becoming something entirely new. Instead of just sharing thoughts, they were creating something together, a new kind of awareness that was part human, part luminen, and part planetary consciousness. I can feel everyone, Lisa whispered in amazement. Every person on the planet, every life form, even the planet itself. We're all connected. The twins gasped as they experienced the same sensation. For the first time in their lives, they could sense individual thoughts and emotions from other people, while still maintaining their special bond with each other. This is incredible. They said together, we can feel what it's like to be truly individual, but we're still connected to something larger. The transformation continued for several more hours. Lisa's hands never stopped moving, making constant tiny adjustments as the planet's consciousness guided them through the process. Her connection with the twins deepened and evolved, becoming less like a temporary link and more like a permanent new way of thinking. When it was finally over, the machines powered down with a gentle sigh, their chaotic light patterns settling into beautiful, steady rhythms. The chamber stopped shaking, and an incredible silence fell over everything. Is it finished? Lisa asked, hardly daring to believe it. The twins checked the monitoring displays, their faces glowing with joy and relief. The core is completely stable, Zara announced. All energy levels are normal, Kara added, and the transformation process is locked in, they said together. The planet will change gradually over the next few years, becoming what it wants to become without harming anyone. Lisa collapsed into a chair that materialized behind her, exhausted but exhilarated. They had done it. They had saved not just a world, but helped it become something even better than it was before. But as the immediate crisis passed, she became aware of the permanent changes in herself. The connection with the twins was still there, stronger than ever. She could sense their thoughts and emotions as clearly as her own, and she knew they could sense hers. The link didn't fade, she said quietly. No, the twins replied. But it's not what we expected either. They were right. The connection wasn't the overwhelming merger that Lisa had feared. Instead, it was like having two very close friends who could speak directly to her mind. She was still herself, with her own thoughts and personality. But she was also part of something larger. I can feel the planet too, she said with wonder. It's like having a conversation with the wisest being in the universe through her new connection. Lisa could sense the planet's gratitude and affection. It had gained something precious from their interaction, not just a safer way to transform, but also a new perspective on life and consciousness that it had never experienced before. The twins helped her to her feet, and together they made their way back to the surface. When they emerged from the underground chamber, they found crowds of Luminans waiting anxiously for news. The moment they saw the twins' expressions, a cheer went up that could probably be heard on the other side of the planet. People were crying and laughing and hugging each other, overwhelmed with relief and joy. Tell them what we accomplished, Lisa said to the twins. Tell them their world isn't just saved, it's going to become something amazing. As Zara and Kara addressed the crowd in their musical language, Lisa felt a strange sensation. Through her connection with the planet, she could understand every word they were saying, and she could feel the collective emotion of everyone listening. They weren't just celebrating the fact that their world had been saved. They were celebrating the beginning of a new era, one where their planet would reach out to other worlds, sharing the gift of life throughout the galaxy. Over the following days, Lisa learned more about her new abilities. The permanent connection with the twins allowed her to experience their memories and knowledge, while they gained access to her human perspective and creativity. Together, they formed a unique bridge between species. But perhaps most importantly, Her link with the planet's consciousness gave her insights into the universe that no human had ever possessed. She could sense the connections between all living things, understand the deep patterns that govern the growth and evolution of life itself. "What will you do now?" the twins asked her one evening as they sat in a crystal garden, watching the planet's new aurora dance across the sky. "I don't know," Lisa admitted. "I can't go back to my old life on Mars. I'm not the same person anymore." "You could stay here," Xeris suggested. "Help us guide the planet's transformation. Or you could travel with us," Kara added. "We're planning to visit other worlds, to share what we've learned about consciousness and connection." Lisa considered both options, but she realized there was a third choice that appealed to her even more. "I think I want to go back to Earth," she said, "but not to my old job. I want to help my people understand what's possible when different forms of consciousness work together." The twins smiled. "You want to prepare humanity for contact with other species." "Exactly," Lisa said. "This connection we share, this bridge between different kinds of minds, it's not just about saving planets. It's about creating a future where all intelligent life can work together." A few weeks later, Lisa stood on the deck of a Luminant ship, watching Earth grow larger in the view screen. She was returning home, but she was bringing with her knowledge and abilities that would change everything. The twins were with her, of course. Their connection meant they would never truly be separated, no matter how far apart they traveled. And through them, she remained linked to the consciousness of Lumina itself, a living planet that was already beginning to send out its first seeds to other worlds. As they approached Earth, Lisa could feel the excitement and nervousness of her two companions. They had never visited a world quite like Earth before, a planet full of individual consciousnesses that had never learned to connect on a deeper level. "Are you sure your people are ready for this?" Kara asked. "They will be," Lisa said confidently. "Humans are incredibly adaptable. Once they understand what's possible, they'll embrace it." Through the ship's communication system, Lisa sent a message to the Mars research station where Jake and her other colleagues were probably still wondering what had happened to her. "This is Dr. Lisa Chen," she said. "I'm coming home, and I have some incredible things to share with you. Prepare yourselves for the biggest discovery in human history." As Earth filled the view screen, Lisa felt a deep sense of purpose and excitement. She had started this journey as a simple xenobiologist, studying alien,